2010. Beer was the first thing. That was a mistake.
5, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hola, what's good? What's up? How you doing? How's everybody doing? I hope you're okay, and I hope you can see the excitement in my face. I hope you can tell that I'm actually very, very excited, yo. The migration is finally here. Switching from audio to video podcasting, and I'm here for it. I hope you're here for it. I am super ecstatic. So allow me to reintroduce myself for my new viewers, my new listeners, even for old listeners that didn't know the face behind the podcast. This is the face. This is Lakshmi, this is TSL, and I'm happy, very, very happy to be here for y'all. So my full names, I know there's people that don't like it when someone says my full names are. You want people to say my name is, but I have 4 names. Please, go drink water and take a cold shower. My full names are Twambo, Stephanie, Lakshmi, Mwemba. It's a handful. I know it's a mouthful. I know my father was very, very excited to have a girl, so it's evident with the names I have. So welcome to my podcast, TSL Unplugged Podcast, and I'm very, very, very happy to be here. So first things first, as I dive in, I would like to give many thanks to our host venue, Cafe Wani, where we are right now, a beautiful place. As you can see, yes, so Cafe Wani is our venue host, and I'm very grateful for that. Very, very grateful and appreciative. Big ups, big ups, big ups. Thank you so much. So I know people are wondering, who's this girl? Why is she appearing here? Why is she in my face? What is she about? So real quick rundown, a quick background of who I am and what I'm about. Full names, cut at that. I am the only girl, family of 4, born and raised in Lusaka, school Lusaka, then migrated to the Copper Belt, Mufulira to be specific, the town of the Lunsonga. To be specific, I came here for work in 2017. I am a pharmacy technologist by profession. Yeah, your licensed drug dealer. This gal, you can trust me. If you want those to my somethings, you can hit me up. Yeah, and on the side, I am ergo, a podcaster. I am an events organizer here and there. I am a poet here and there, and other things you will get to know as we proceed on this journey together. So, why podcasting? Why venture into podcasting? So many people that are podcasting, so many people are doing this. Why did you do this? So, from inception, from the get-go, from the jump, I started podcasting, in 2021, February, with audio. Okay, so the goal, like I mentioned earlier, was to always have a video podcast and not just audio. So I did not have the necessary equipment, the necessary tools to help me jumpstart my video podcast. So I told myself to say I can actually start with audio. The sky is the limit. You need to start from somewhere, then pick it up from there. Because if I sat and waited, I was not going to, begin to say per se. So first audio podcast came up in February 2021. And I've been moving since. So there are 10 episodes currently available for your listening ears, not audio. And the main reason why I wanted to start a podcast is the beginning of 2021, I'll say 2020, 2021, end of 2020, 2021, we were still dealing with a pandemic. The COVID was amongst us, and we're still dealing with that. And there's people that were talking about serious stuff everywhere. You hear deaths, you hear the news, someone is talking about somebody has died, or there's a relative that's got COVID, or there's a friend. I actually had people close to me that were affected by COVID. I have a friend, light moment, please don't kill me. There's a friend of mine that has had COVID, guys, Kashungani 3 times or 4 times. She still lives on. We thank the Lord, though. She still lives. So 4 times, 3 times. She gets COVID. After maybe 2, 3, 4 months, she gets COVID again. And I'm like, yo, guys. So, like, in the midst of all that, in my head, I'm like, we've got people everywhere talking about serious things. Why not have something out there that's kind of giving us a light moment, something that's light to the ear, easy on the ear, something you can listen to and, you know, relate yourself to. Like, oh, okay, if we're talking about relationships, I've been through that. If we're talking about heartbreaks, oh, I've been through that relationships that didn't work or don't work. And yeah, not just the negatives, the positives as well. See, the way life is, we all journey through this life differently. My experience is not your experience. Like, how I've experienced life up to this point where I'm at is not how the next person has. It's not how my production manager has. We've all experienced it differently. And I was just like, the main essence was to put out a podcast that was refreshing, thought-provoking in a way, conversation-based, relatable conversations that people can be like, oh, okay, she's talking about something and I've been through this, or she's talking about this and I can relate to it. You understand? So nothing too serious, because light to the ear. Yes, so mainly, basically, that's what led me to begin the podcast, because we were so strained with hearing bad news, hearing this and that on the news, on the radio, on the TV. So it's like, let me bring something light to the ear that people can relate to. And you know, pretty much. So with video podcasting, what should people expect per se? So the goal with this one is continue on the same trajectory. You know, we're still going to be talking about relationships, situationships, life as we know it, because life has ups and downs. Life has so many merry-go-round situations that it takes us through. So we're still continue on the same trajectory, and we're going to have multiple people on the pod, media personalities, artists, just different people that can come and share some of their stories with us, how they came to be who they are, how their childhoods were, their life experiences, everything. You understand? Relationships, sex, situationships, anything you can think about, anything life brings in our paths, we are going to tackle it. So I mentioned audio podcasting. So audio podcasting episodes ran through from 1 to 10, and just to give people who are listening in for the first time a little rundown on what those episodes were, even old listeners, to give you a recap of what was going on, because I know I went quiet, wasn't deliberate, putting things together for y'all. The first episode that was put out was titled My Baby is Born. That should be self-explanatory. My baby being the podcast, it being born, it beginning, me starting to put work out there with the first episode. That's what that entailed, and just introducing who I was, like I've done as we began, and giving a brief rundown of who I am, what I'm about, and all that. That's what the first episode was about. Then the second episode, feminism, what's the big idea? That's what it was titled. And on this one, I featured a friend, Trisha Banda, and we kind of dissected, you know, the world of feminism, feminists that are big out there. And not to sound redundant, but feminism is a very big thing. It's a very big deal to certain people that take it to heart. So we did not come out like people that don't know what they're talking about. We didn't dive into it so much, but just on the surface of what feminism is about and what was happening around the period that episode came out. Then the third episode is titled Dissected. Okay, what was dissected was the world of heartbreaks, how to navigate your life around what heartbreaks are, how to go about dealing with heartbreaks. And I know what can work for one person cannot work for the other person, in fact. So what maybe I went through my own experiences, what worked for me will not work for you, that's a fact. But if I tell you how I went about certain situations or certain things, you might pick one or two things and try and use it to help yourself as well. You know, depression is real, anxiety is real, suicide is real. People are there doing things to themselves. So if I can bring out a situation to you and tell you how I overcame it, maybe you can pick one or two things and use your own way to like overcome certain things. Yeah, so the third episode was titled Dissected. It tackled heartbreaks, long distance relationships, and friendship after a breakup. Is it doable? So go listen to it. You'll get the details there. Then the fourth episode was titled Selfish on the Self-Love. Many a times we as a people are too busy navigating life around the people around us. Okay? I have a friend, you have a friend, and it's about the circle of people I have around me, whatever I have going on, whether it's work, whether it's personal life, and we forget many a times to love ourselves. And when people misuse the love we have for them, whether be it in a relationship setup or a friendship setup, when people misuse that, many a times we don't realize it comes down to first with us. If I don't love myself, how do I expect somebody else to come and give me love that I deserve if I don't love myself first? How, bruh? How? If I don't love myself first. So it has to come down to me loving myself, learning to love myself, and allowing people to be able to love me. So even if somebody doesn't love me or people don't give me the right amount of love that is expected, not me sounding entitled or anything, but as we move through life, everybody goes through life differently and the things we go through in life. So if I don't get, or I don't feel like the love that I'm giving out is reciprocated, it shouldn't affect me mentally or emotionally in any way. I'm human, I might get affected, yes, but it shouldn't dip down to a point where now I just become sad because somebody is not reciprocating the love that I gave out. Now, if I love myself enough, it's like, bruh, you don't love me? Friendship, relationship setting, whatever setting we're talking about, you don't love me? Cool. Go about your business. I can hold myself down. I love myself enough. So, yeah, goodbye. That was the fourth episode. Then the fifth episode was Situationships Part 1. So with this episode, I was able to connect with 3 of my childhood best friends. I will name them. Namakao Mainga, Cindy Zimba, and Chilalandeke. So these are my OG childhood. Like literally, I'm talking 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, that long. So we reconnected on this episode and we kind of delved down into situationships. We talked about our personal experiences, how some people overcame those situations, and how, you know, situationships are bad or good depending on what angle you're looking at it from. So yeah, please go listen. The 6th episode, Adapt and Adjust. So in this life, with this particular episode, many a times we run through life and just get whatever is given to us. Okay? We don't question it. Whatever comes, it's like, oh, thank you. Thanking you. I appreciate it. Thanking you so much. Thank you. And that's not how we should be moving through life, you know? Accepting the bare minimum in life is a no-no. If we're talking about relationships, I'm dating somebody, and simple mere communication, you understand, somebody wants to make it a big deal, like I'm even trying to communicate with you, bro. We're in this relationship and I call you, I text you, bro. That's the bare minimum that is expected of you. You want me to just accept it that you call me and do this, and then you're MIA for like 5 days and you just pop up and say, oh hey baby, what's up, what's good, because you're communicating? Nah, man, that's a bare minimum. Show up for me, be there for me, do reciprocated, of course. Even I should be able to do the same for this person. So adapting and adjusting, accepting the bare minimum is a no-no. Go listen to the episode to get the full deets on what that episode was about. The 7th episode was titled Independence, and with this one, looking at the things that we go through in life, okay? Many a times we count on people, which is normal. You can't, no man is an island, right? That's what they say. But with this one, kind of try to give it an opposite look, some opposite traction. Like, I should be able to count on myself first before I am able to count on somebody else. Like, I should be self-reliant. I think if I should put it that way, I should have a sense of independence before I count on other people fully 100%. I should be able to look at myself and count on myself first, believe in myself before I put my trust in somebody else. That's what the episode should be about. pretty much, basically, I think. Yes, that was what the 7th episode is about. So on the 7th episode, I kind of hit a bump in life. I think the 7th episode should have come out somewhere around April 2021, and life kind of happened. Life kind of happened, and I paused. And the pause from the podcast was about 1 year plus, close to 2 years. Okay, so life happened, I hit a bump, and I think I failed to navigate my emotions well. I failed to get my rhythm back because of what happened. To touch on it briefly, I was engaged. My engagement ended, my engagement failed. And you know how society is. Society ridicules you in a way, and you're like, how do I bounce back from this? How do I get back on my feet? How do I navigate life again after this? And I will not lie, I tried to put out a couple of episodes, but I failed. Mentally, yeah, because it's something I didn't see coming. I didn't see it hitting me the way it did, and I was actually depressed for a very, very long time. So, story for another day. So 1 year plus, we hit that bump, and when I reached a point of healing, to a point where I could talk about it without tearing up or crying or feeling bad about it, I came back on the scene, and we came back with an 8th episode called Changes. That was like nearly 2 years after whatever I went through happened, and I picked myself up, gathered my broken pieces, put them back together, and I was back. And it was good. It was good. So the 8th episode of the podcast dabs down into kind of what happened. Not trying to give too much information because that situation involved 2 people, and I didn't want to overexpress myself lest I say something that maybe the other person feels like, oh no, she's lying about this, or she didn't do this, or she said ABCD. So yeah, that episode explains that. So go listen to the episode. 9th episode, why I stopped apologizing. I think it's even in the name. Some of us, I'll talk about myself, growing up, I used to be, I think I still am kinda, but not too much. I used to be very shy, like, and kind of like a people pleaser, not wanting to hurt people's feelings, even when something happens or somebody does something to me, and I know they're wrong. I will not approach them and tell them to say, yo, bro, you did this or say this, and I'm not okay with that. I'm not happy. I wasn't happy. I'm not happy you did that, and I wasn't that type of person for a very, very long time in life, and I'll find myself even apologizing for things that were not necessarily my fault, that were not inherently my fault. So you find yourself apologizing for things when you don't have to apologize. Like, why are you apologizing? This person was wrong. Why are you? Just to keep a relationship. I'm not talking about just sexual relationships or these intimate relationships. I'm talking about friendships as well, you know, those kinds of relationships. So I got to a point as I was growing, certain things, it's experience, I'll say. As you grow, you learn. And, you know, and as I've grown over the years, I've picked up certain things, and I have learned about how to navigate life and how to deal with certain situations. And I have learned to say that there's nothing wrong with speaking your mind. If something is wrong, speak about it, approach it, address it, you know, that kind of thing. So, episode 9, why I stopped apologizing. Go have a listen. The 10th episode, that's where I hit a bump. So, the 10th episode was a highlight of the entire podcast, I think, because I had a first, artist on the pod, and that was T-Lo, the baddest. Yeah, Alaji. Yeah. So, he graced the podcast. He agreed, he graced the podcast, and it was vibes. From the beginning of the episode to the end of the episode, it was vibes throughout. And after that episode, because it was coming down to who T-Lo is, what he's about, you know how, because he plays basketball and stuff like that. I won't give too much information. Go listen to the podcast. Yes. So he kind of dabbed down into who he is, what he's about, and after that, I hit a bump again. Because in my mind, I'm like, okay, that was a sweet episode, and I wish it was like video broadcasted so people can see how his energy was and how his vibe was, and I hit a bump again. And I paused again, not deliberately. It wasn't even a procrastination thing, like, yeah. So I think after that particular episode with T-Lo, that's when now it started coming down to me to say, you know what, start putting things into place to like now put out video podcast and just like get into it seriously now. So it took a while. That should have been like July, if I'm not mistaken. So from July till date, the podcast has been dormant because I really wanted to switch it from audio to podcast to video podcasting, and here we are. So 1 through to 10 episodes. My favorite episode personally, mainly because it had a lot to do with my growth individually, because I was able to speak about something that really put me in a dark place and a sad place, a very destructive place, and I was able to pick myself out from that. My favorite episode was the 8th episode, the changes. So changes also came with the podcast name change. Initially the podcast was called Let's Talk About It. Let's talk about it. That's what it was. So when I came back after 2 years and reintroduced the podcast, I felt it had to change because we're not in a COVID era as bad as it was. We moved past that, and I was thinking that the podcast had to be a little bit more personalized, and so it switched from Let's Talk About It to TSL Unplugged. We picked it up from there, and I've been moving with it since. So made it a little more personal. Life happened. I was able to pick myself through that. So changes is actually, I think, my favorite episode thus far, because I was able to speak about something that happened to me, something that put me in a place or a state that I wasn't really happy with or happy about, because I was doing certain things that I wasn't happy with as a person. Deep down I knew to say, okay, I'm drinking. Why am I drinking like this? But then in the moment, I didn't understand what it was, but looking back, being able to pull myself from whatever happened and whatever that situation was, it's like in the moment I didn't understand it because I was actually depressed. I work in the medical field, and I'll be there dispensing antidepressants to people on a prescription. I'm like, guys, antidepressants. Why? You're depressed. You need drugs, bruv. But like when it happened to me, it's like, bruh, I was depressed. I lost weight. I wasn't eating. I wasn't socializing as well as I was. So, I think that particular episode for me showed growth on a personal level. So it's my favorite episode because of that mainly. I was able to pull myself out of a dark place, and I was able to talk about it without tearing up, without choking up, without feeling bad about anything. That's how I knew I moved past it and we grew past it. So pretty much. So now, vision with the video podcast overall, going forward, the goal is to be the biggest podcast in Zambia. Am I being a little, overambitious? Yes. There's nothing wrong with being overambitious as a person. There's nothing wrong with being ambitious as a person. Not just in Zambia, I will tell you this globally. The aim is to be known around the world, around the globe. I intend to meet Joe Budden. These are one of the people that inspired me to actually take up podcasting. I will tell you is number 1, Joe Budden, the Joe Budden podcast. We'll start with that one. Number 2, Deval and Kadeen, the Dead Ass podcast. I love that pair. So the goal is to go global. Whether you believe in me or not, those that believe in me know we're going to do this and we're going to achieve this with what we have begun now. So that's the goal, that's the dream, that has always been the dream, in fact. So the goal with this podcast is feature as many media personnel as we can so they can share their life experiences, the life stories, away from who they are as big people. People feature certain people and it's like, oh, okay, as an artist, so this, that. No. Want to know what your childhood was like. What were you eating? Were you eating lumanda? Were you eating beans? Were you eating fisashi? Or what was your childhood like? What were your experiences like relationship-wise? What was that about? Like just getting down to who people really are beneath the shield, beneath their outer persona. So our next episode will be up next week, Wednesday, and my featured guest, should I get into it? No, let me get into it because I'm excited about it. He's a very good, very, very good friend of mine, and I'm very, very excited for it. So Eddie Africa. media personnel, very good friend of mine, and he's made a name for himself in this town and outside as well. So you hear Eddie Africa, you're like, Eddie Africa. So we'll get down into that later. I intend to have big people, over ambitious. Come back to this particular first episode and you tell me to say you said it. Mutale Mwanza. I got you. You got me. I'm gonna have Dinema on this pod. Expect big names. I think, let me not give so much away, but we're going to get there. We're getting there, and I can't wait to share this experience with everybody. Life has so many curveballs. So many curveballs that we don't expect sometimes. Sometimes you can see something coming and you're like, okay, I can navigate my way through this. I can do this, I can do that. But sometimes certain things hit you and it's like, yo, how? What do I do? How do I pick myself up? So if we share certain things with each other, certain stories, we'll be able to know how to navigate this life, this thing called life, bruh, because how? Why? Life. So yeah, pretty much that's about me. That's about the podcast. That's about what you should expect. That's about the previous episodes we've had thus far. And that's about what the TSL Unplugged podcast is going to be bringing to you. Freshness, realness, unorthodox stuff. We're going to be getting into everything just as it is. So I can't wait to share this experience with you. I can't wait to share this journey with you. I can't wait to see you next week, most especially. So I'll see you then.